What's up, everybody? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC Quick Picks on the Mayo Media Network. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, guys. Like the video. Thanks for your support throughout the past month. It's been really cool to see. Supposed to be Blades versus Lewis today, but the main event was canceled literally 5 minutes ago, right as I started to record this podcast. So I think we're Anthony Smith and Devin Clark as the new main event. It's just a terrible situation, quite honestly. Still going to give you my cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and fade of the week. Before I do that, again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of great content coming out throughout the week. The Dogger Pass podcast, especially with Cody Saftik, Paul Shaughnessy, was great as always. So make sure you watch that if you haven't yet. And without further ado, let's jump into my cash game play of the week. All right, cash game play. Clearly, I was looking up at the main event favorite, Curtis Blades, at 9.3K. That fight is canceled. So now I guess I'm pivoting to Kai Kamaka at 9.2K. Before I forget, quick notes from the last card, which had some good and some bad. Shevchenko is our cash game play. She did all right. She won. Buckley was a tournament play. He smashed. That was great. Alex Perez was our salary play, and he got dusted. That wasn't too much of a surprise, but yeah, he got dusted. That wasn't a great finish for us. And then Antonina Shevchenko was my fade of the week, and she won by TKO on the mat. That sucked. That was a major bust. So we'll own our wins, we'll own our losses. That one really killed me, quite honestly. So fingers crossed the fade of the week doesn't end up on the optimal lineup this week. That was a tough one to swallow. Back to the cash game play here. Kai Kamaka, 9.2K. He is now, I believe, the biggest favorite on the card. Was at minus 290 yesterday, still at minus 290 today against Jonathan Pierce. I just think Kamaka is a very safe play on this slate, and he's coming off a fight in which he landed 114 strikes and 5 takedowns against Tony Kelly. And I like that. It shows his willingness to throw strikes at a high volume, his willingness to grapple. That's a lot of offensive production for a fighter in a UFC debut. And again, he's a big favorite here, minus 290. Inside distance line's not that great, plus 205, but we're not even necessarily looking for him to get a finish at this price. He's already proven he can put up 100 points in a decision, 115 points in his win against Tony Kelly in his UFC debut in a decision. So basically, I just think Kamaka has a very high floor and a high ceiling in a victory against Pierce on Saturday, and that's what we're looking for in cash. His offensive production seems great, and Jonathan Pierce, you know, I don't know that he's some excellent talent. He got dusted by Joe Lozon in his UFC debut, TKO on the mat in only a couple of minutes. So I do think Kamaka should have some wrestling advantages here, and even if he's not like at a major advantage on the feet, just his willingness to throw strikes should give him an edge. And again, he is one of the biggest favorites on this card. Unfortunately, we don't have Blades for cash games, but I do like Kamaka, 9.2K. I think he's one of the safest fighters on the card in terms of his floor. The over 2.5 rounds is minus 180, so don't really see much of a path for him to get finished. Kai Kamaka is my cash game play of the week. Now on to my tournament play of the week. I'm going to go with Sumudaerji at 9.1K. The reason that I like him better than Kamaka in tournaments is that I think he has a really strong chance to win by knockout in this fight. Mudaerji is minus 320 against Malcolm Gordon. The fight ends inside the distance is minus 270. This is a clash of styles here. Malcolm Gordon excels on the mat. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He has a lot of wins by submission, but he's been hurt a bunch of times, even in wins on the regional scene. And he's been knocked out 3 times, whereas Sumudaerji excels at range on the feet, but he's been submitted a few times, including in his UFC debut by Louis Smolka. So I think we're going to find out very quickly who's the better fighter here. And it's essentially like, I don't think, if the fight plays out on the ground, I don't really think Sumudaerji can compete with Gordon. And if the fight plays out on the feet, I don't really think Gordon can compete with Sumudaerji, especially over an extended period of time. And you look at the way that Gordon reacts to taking hits, he's always covering up. And Sumudaerji's a pretty sharp striker, and I was actually impressed with him in his last win against Andre Sukumtat. Landed 93 significant strikes, only absorbed 23. He's quite dangerous, and in a small cage, I just don't think Gordon can stand with him for very long. I expect Sumadaerji to earn a knockdown and probably a knockout if he doesn't get submitted quickly. Sumadaerji minus 145 to win inside the distance. 9.1K is not a terrible price to pay. So he doesn't have the highest floor, but I do think his chances of finishing this fight and earning 100 points are pretty high. Sumadaerji, boom or bust, but one of my favorite tournament plays on this slate. Okay, next up for my salary play of the week, I'm going to give out Parker Porter at 7.2K, and this is I'm begrudgingly giving out Parker Porter because this one is tough. And just for the record, I'm still unsure if Devin Clark versus Anthony Smith is the new main event, and if Clark is the underdog there in a new 5-round main event, he'll be much more live for a DraftKings play at 7.7K than he was previously. 3 rounds I think hurts him, but 5 rounds I'm interested. There are a lot of live underdogs on this slate, guys, so I am spreading out my exposure, and I like a lot of these fighters. I think Bill Algio's got a decent shot, Anderson Dos Santos. Parker Porter 7.2K. I've had success winning tournaments targeting these underdog heavyweights. And I'm going back to the well here a little bit, only because I think the line is a bit too wide on Josh Parisian. Parisian's minus 210. Porter's plus 175 as the underdog. Porter looked not great in his UFC debut. He got knocked out by Chris Daukaus. But I think Chris Daukaus is actually a pretty decent, and Daukaus went on to knock out Rodrigo Nascimento, so I'm a little more okay with Porter getting stuffed out in his UFC debut. I still didn't like the way he got hurt, but Parisian isn't very good. He's pretty slow. He doesn't have a great range striking game. He's not a great grappler. He's had a lot of success when he can earn some top position and land ground and pound, and he might very well go out there and take some shots and then find one minute of top position and win this fight with ground and pound. So this isn't a stay away from Parisian comment, but Porter is plus 175 as the underdog, only plus 240 to win inside the distance at 7.2K. I think he's going to be relatively low owned, maybe not as much on a 10-fight slate, but I don't think people are actively excited to play Porter on this slate. And, he's more experienced. I just think he's a more functional boxer than Parisian, and he may even have a similar grappling pedigree. I just don't see any area where Parisian is obviously better than Porter, except maybe his finishing ability, maybe age, durability. Those things obviously come into play at heavyweight. This is a risk. Don't get me wrong. This is a risk. Porter at 7.2K, but I just think there's a lot of upside compared to his ownership, and I still think the line is simply too wide. I think Parisian is being overvalued here coming off the Contender Series. We see guys look great on the Contender Series all the time. Louis Cosi, as a prime example a week or two ago, who looked amazing on the Contender Series and then gassed out after 3 minutes in his UFC debut. A lot of these guys coming off the Contender Series are just overrated. And Parisian, looked good on the Contender Series, but he got destroyed when he was on the Ultimate Fighter. He lost on the regional scene. I'm not convinced he's any great talent, so I'm going to take some extra risks on the underdog Porter here just for the high variance nature of the fight, the ownership, the upside. So he'll be my salary play of the week at 7.2K. Finally, my fade of the week, I'm going with Gina Mazzani at 8.6K, and I'm actually just seeing that her odds dropped significantly. She was minus 135, minus 145 last night, and she's now up to minus 185. So people are betting Mazzani up big against Rachel Ostovich, and this is one of the lowest level fights on the slate, in my opinion. Ostovich doesn't even have a professional winning record, so I'm not against picking Mazzani to win. Mazzani's 1-4 in the UFC. She's lost to some she's gotten starched by some good competition, so they're training with James Krause now, moving down in weight. There's a chance that she looks better than she has looked in the past. It's just at 8.6K, unless she finishes Rachel Ostovich, I don't see her ending up on the winning lineup. She's plus 346 to win inside the distance, and she really hasn't shown any finishing pedigree in the UFC. She has one win. It was against Wu Yanan. She landed 38 strikes and 5 takedowns and couldn't really advance position. And yeah, maybe she can land a few takedowns against Ostovich. Maybe she can control her on the mat, but she's not like a devastating range striker, and I haven't seen much from her submission grappling game. Let me pull up her record real quick. She's only 6-4 professionally, and she has one win by submission, so am I really that confident that she's going to go in there, take Ostovich down, submit her quickly? No, I'm not. And that would probably be her path to the optimal lineup. There's just so many other fighters I like more on this card. Smith potentially in the main event. Sanders has upside. Baeza's got knockout upside. Day. Carlisle's got a lot of upside. And then everyone in the 9K range has a ton of upside. So you can't play everyone on a 10-fight slate. The line movement does concern me a little bit with Mazzani. She's too expensive. 8.6K. For her style of fighting, a non-threatening style is just too much, and the inside distance line backs it up at near plus 350. So fade of the week is going to be Gina Mazzani at 8.6K. All right, guys, that's going to do it for another UFC Quick Picks. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way. Hope you had a great day yesterday. And thanks for tuning in. As always, dailyfanmma.com. You can get all the breakdowns you want, podcasts, rankings, all that good stuff. We're still going to post all that stuff for every event regardless. So even though the main event's canceled, even though it's 10 fights, we still got tons of content up on Daily Fan MMA, and we will throughout the rest of the year. You can follow me on Twitter, Appley, TTP. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. As always, Mayo Media Network. Have a good one, guys. Take care. Best of luck in your contests. We'll talk soon. Peace.